Hi everyone and welcome to the next panel of the day. As Cass just said, it's a really important one. It's the blueprint to an award-winning project, and I'm very lucky to be sharing the stage with three of our lovely customers who have won awards at Learning Technologies. Mark, obviously, most recently winning Best Use of Data Analytics to Prove Learning Impact, Bronze Award at Learning Tech. Svetlana from Bally's Interactive, bronze for best implementation, and then Beattie from Vodafone winning gold for best implementation as well. So that was last year, year before that, and then this year. So yeah, we've got some really interesting stories to share with you as we go through the panel today. And we really want to piece that story together for you in terms of setting the scene, understanding what it is that you need to gather in order to tell an effective story, what data you need to gather from across your businesses, how you go about submitting that, what the partnership might look like with Thrive, or beyond that, what happens when you actually get in front of the judges, and how that process works as well. And hopefully we'll be able to inspire you to think about the work that's going on in your businesses now, to think, actually, you know what? I can tell a really good story here, and I've got stuff that I want to share, and I can already kind of see that all coming together for us within our business as well. And then, really importantly, at the end, we'll be doing a bit of a reflection on, you know, where you're at, looking back and thinking about some of the projects that you've probably maybe even finished, and thinking about maybe you could submit those for an award. So just hopefully leave this session feeling a little bit inspired about the work that you're doing, based on the stories that the lovely panelists will be sharing with you as we go through this panel today. So I'll let you each introduce yourselves. Rob, if you could tell us a little bit about, you know, who you are, what your role is, a little bit about your business, but also a little bit about the award as well.
We on? There we go, we are. Thank you, Helen. So, yep, Rob Beattie at Vodafone. I've actually changed roles since we did that award win. So I'm currently in Vodafone Business, but at the time was in consumer. I think this would be the first note around when you enter an award. Get a really good soundbite. So we said Thrive was our secret sauce, because at the time we brought together 12,000 frontline employees across 4 different countries to use one single platform, because they had, and I did spot earlier, I'm sure Emily's in the crowd somewhere. There she is, she gives us a wave. Emily kind of did the groundwork on a bit of discovery, and when we brought our care and our sales teams together, we actually had 16 different ways of communicating with them. So we launched Thrive as a comms platform, and then that's where they got all their operational learning and knowledge all in one place. And then, yeah, our journey of launch, I suppose it was a longer journey for launch because we did, wanted to pilot to make sure we were happy with what it would be like for full rollout, and it was kind of that story of bringing our front line into one place, and the customer and the commercial metrics we drove off the back of that.
Brilliant. So we're already thinking about the metrics, the business impact, all that good stuff that we'll dive into as well as we go through the session. So Svetlana, over to you from a Bally's Interactive perspective. Who are you? What's your role?
Of course, Svetlana Lloyd. I'm a senior L&D BP for Bally's business, but my main focus is Bally's Interactive. So as Bally's business, we split into 2. We have casinos and resorts on US side, and in Europe and North America, we predominantly online. So again, focus Bally's Interactive. Our partnership with Thrive, I think, has been going on for over 3 years now, and it's been great. We won a bronze award, Learning Technology Award for best implementation. And actually, thinking back, for us as a business, it was a bit of a pivotal moment where we were transforming our learning culture and moving from kind of bumps of seats and, you know, training requests into more of a seeing learning as partner, as a strategic partner to the business and solving problems. So by bringing Thrive on board and collaborating with Thrive, we kind of achieved, you know, we're not perfect, but we achieved what we wanted to achieve because we started to document our data, tangible data, and started to speak to the business in a different language, challenging the business as well and ourselves. So I think as a team, we've gone a long way, but together with Thrive, So you had massive impact on how we see learning. We now have a different voice in the boardroom, because before we didn't have voice as strong as now, but now we do. That's where we are right now.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting to see that journey from initial engagement all the way through to the initiatives that you're running now, which we will speak about in a moment. But it's that kind of the holy grail of what people should be looking towards doing is instigating that, implementing in the platform and then looking ahead to the future as well. So yeah, lots more to unpick there from your story for sure. Mark, over to you.
Thanks, Helen. Good afternoon, everyone. So Mark Bourne from the AA, and more specifically the AA Driving School, and more specifically than that, the AA Driving School Academy. So ultimately, the AA Driving School, we've got about just under 3,500 driving instructors out there delivering driving lessons every day. We deliver around about 200,000 first lessons every year. We do own the BSM brand as well. And then we also have people that operate their own driving school under their own names out there as well, amongst those 3,500. Our user case for the Thrive platform is for our trainees that want to become driving instructors. So they purchase their driving instructor training products, of which we've got 2 fantastic products, come onto the platform, and that takes them through that entire journey, through that qualification process. And for us, the big thing as well as around just that navigation and that journey is that community. Becoming a driving instructor, a lot of people underestimate what the challenge is when they first sort of sign up to the training, and they need that peer support. They want that community, so the platform really, really helps us deliver that as well. In terms of our award, bronze this year, which was fantastic, and we're determined to come back next year and enter more and win more. But this was our first time of really actually looking outside the industry and doing something outside the industry in terms of awards. And so I am, super chuffed with the bronze. And ultimately it was a long title, but ultimately it was about our Thrive Impact project and really using the data of what's happening on the platform to really show that impact on both the learners, so our trainees, and then also that for the business as well, which we'll go into a bit more in a minute.
Yeah, and I mean, coming to the awards for the first time and taking a bronze is an amazing achievement. So, well done again. I think to pick up on your point there around impact, I'm going to ask what is potentially going to be a controversial question around that kind of the mindset that is needed within a business to focus on the end result. And as L&D teams, there's often a conversation around actually, are we focused on that end result enough, and do we have to work to shift our own mindsets away from things like completion metrics and kind of bums on seats towards like broader business impact? So Rob, I'm really interested to hear whether you've had to shift opinion, whether you've had to shift your own mindset or the mindset of the stakeholders within your business.
No. Is the really short answer. The long one being, again, I suppose not an L&D background, is always a commercial background. And I think for us, we think at the end in mind that we didn't set out to just implement a platform. You set out to improve business metrics, to improve employee experience. So our business goals, a comm won't go on the platform, a piece of learning won't go on the platform unless it's aligned to our goals. And thereby, the platform has to be the enabler for that. So unless it passes all the tests for us, it sounds really dull, but you kind of do the whole requirements gather, the kind of testing. And so as a team doing all that stuff to kind of go, we think we've got the solution, this is best in class, then actually all of that had to be measured. And it's the same when you've got any of the outputs of the things you put on the platform. That all has to be measured, because why the hell are you doing it? Otherwise, it's not driving things into your business. So unless it's going to help us be number one for customer, number one for converged, or number one for employee experience, then actually it's not going on there in the first place, because we'd have to justify that all the way up.
Yeah, and I suppose then, having that justification from you within the teams that you work with enables you to have those conversations more effectively with the rest of the business as well, because it is so aligned, which is obviously putting you in a really positive position that you're not having to kind of shift their mindset too much. They already know the value that you're...
Yeah, well, that's it. I think there was a really good piece on this stage before lunch, wasn't there? And people were talking about why does that comm exist? So actually, what is it your team going to get from it? What's in it for them? Kind of what's the so what that they kind of need? Unless people can really express that and they can understand it and they can do something with it. Because unless it makes it into a customer conversation, it's not worth doing. Unless it's going to be able to improve something somewhere, then it wasn't worth doing in the first place. You're right, that comes from everything you put on the platform, but all the governance, the guys spoke about it before. How do you structure your content? How do you organise it when it's on there? What does it look and feel like? What are the different mediums you can use? Then, again, our stakeholders are expecting us to be able to demonstrate the return through different metrics, through the different things we push out on the platform.
And I suppose, Svetlana, to your point earlier about, having a voice in the boardroom now, that, has that been a journey for you to, it sounded like it has been for you to convince people that actually this work we're doing is having a real impact on the business?
Yes, definitely. And again, before we implemented Thrive, we were on a journey. We were listening to the business, and business, presented some challenges for us, saying, look, your training is nice and pretty, but we didn't have functional training, for example, and training which is tailored to the team. Marketeers were coming to me and saying, I'm doing all of the soft skills, but you don't offer anything in terms of technical skills. People were complaining about our LMS, and I'm sounding like it was terrible. It wasn't, but I'm just trying to pinpoint the business challenges we had. And then, we started to look at ourselves as a team and think, what are we doing? What do we need to do differently to actually change and evolve with the business? Because it's such a fast-paced environment, we're in gaming industry. And how do we meet those requirements of technology, for example, because technology is moving so fast. Our tech people are our biggest audience, and they're so hungry to learn. And we were just a little bit behind of evolution of the business. So again, there were some challenges also within the team in terms of let's change our mindset, let's challenge each other, let's start asking business difficult questions and put ourselves in a difficult situations because of that. And then, we started to change it. And when we implemented Thrive, we also proven that here's the data. Here's how we can link learning to performance. Here's how we upskilling our people. Here's how our learning engagement has gone up by, I think it was by 30%. We had people who really wanted to be part of our platform called Beehive, by the way. And Beehive, obviously, all about the bees. So people want to be part of it. People want to generate their own content. And sorry if I'm digressing, but we had this tech guy. And I'll always remember, he said to us, right, okay, you have this amazing platform, and you gave me this, you empowered me to generate my own content. So he went away and came back with this pathway for his new people. And he was playing a guitar, singing a song, saying, welcome to my team. And he was somewhere in Sweden in the forest. And I know it sounds really crazy, but in terms of engagement of your new people, it was great.
To pick up on your point, Svetlana, about data, I think that's the second thing I'd really hone in on when you're thinking about submitting for an award. It is what data do you have available, and how are you pulling that, and what are you showing change in within the initiatives that you're working in. And I suppose, Mark, to pass a question over to you around data, how hard was it, or how easy was it for you to identify those key data points that were going to enable you to show that shift in behaviour? Or
so for us, we have the brilliant data of you came on as a trainee, you're now successfully qualified as a driving instructor, and you've gone through 3 stages of a qualification process to achieve that. But actually working with the data team as well within Thrive, it was actually looking, well, can we predict how successful people are actually going to be at those tests when they arrive at that point? And so it's really having a look at, I suppose, if you like, compliance in terms of what learning are they doing, when are they doing it, how long is it taking them. But what we wanted to do was really try and map what's the very best journey for somebody to come on, what are the key points throughout that learning journey. And so it was those data points. But we also, we've been a customer for 3 and a bit years, I think. I'm terrible with my dates, but 3 and a bit years. And at the beginning of this year, we changed our strategy. We split the platform up a little bit more. We locked down content. We locked down pathways. And so we had, 2 years worth of data of we've given you a free-for-all almost on the learning to now we're going to really structure it. And so we were able to compare those 2 data sets and have a look at, well, how much compliance do we get on the platform? How long are people spending on that on the platform? How much are they actually socially engaging with the content that we've got on there in terms of comments, likes, shares? And so we had so much that we could look at and do that comparison. And just have to say, Ellie, I don't know if she's around, but ultimately from the Thrive Data team, absolutely brilliant in building us the dashboards that we need so we can see all of that data. And the award entry, it's just to big up really going for an award. It's that real reflection point of where you can have a look and go, oh my God, we've achieved all of this. And so, we use all that data every day. And our next impact project is all about how can we use that more. But the award stuff was really picking out, well, what are the golden nuggets and what really does prove that impact? And we've been able to sort of really, obviously, demonstrate that. We're going to demonstrate it even more next year, come with a silver or gold, but we're really happy with the bronze.
Gold, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I suppose Svetlana, I suppose similar question to you in terms of those data touch points. So when we were preparing for this session, one of the things we spoke quite a lot about was qualitative versus quantitative data. Nailed it. And what's important and how do you pick up on the right things based on what's important to you. So do you want to expand a little bit on that?
Yes, of course. We kind of now, when we set out to do something now, we always think business first. So we look at how we can kind of align what we do into the business and business challenges. And then the data which will come out of that will be impactful because business is asking for it. And it's not only challenges, it's opportunities. I think there are a lot of difficulties sometimes in getting the right data, all of the data you want, because there are so many touch points in the business of good data. So for example, we get data in terms of onboarding, exit interviews, we call them Be Heard surveys, which is a yearly survey. We get learning engagement data. We talk to the stakeholders. So there's so much data, and I think sometimes it's difficult to put everything together and kind of see, what we achieved, what data we need to utilize, and what we achieved. But coming back to your question, which I think I'm not answering anymore. Yes, I think it's first of all that business data, secondly learner data, and then we also look at things, does design work? When we implemented Thrive, we looked at design quite carefully and spent hours together looking at, okay, is this user experience going to hit our objectives or not? So that kind of data was coming through as well. What Haley built for us is incredible. So she built this amazing dashboard, which can, we can go and demonstrate to the auditors, demonstrate to the compliance leads, demonstrate to, senior stakeholders to say, that's compliance. Here's our data. We also had a dashboard which was showing to us what learning is popular in the business, and also what people are searching for, which we are not providing. So that gave us a really good vehicle to, present that, for example, content. And also we identified skills in the business which we had a lot of, or people were lacking. We're not utilizing this skills piece at the moment as much as we can, but we can look at the map and see, right, we have a lot of Java developers in the business, and at this level, or we don't have enough, this particular skill.
Yeah, really interesting to start piecing those stories together and start filling skills gaps specifically in that instance, but also just creating that broader picture about what's going on in the organization. And I think that data is the starting point for the stories that you're trying to tell, but also that kind of before and after picture of benchmarking where you were, understanding where you are now, and then bringing it to life in a story. I think, Rob, when you won your award last year, we followed up with a webinar with both Rob and Becky West from Ann Summers talking about the award that they'd won as well. And we spoke a little bit about storytelling, and I remember you saying that actually once you get into the room with the judges, it's actually really easy to be able to tell your story because it's your bread and butter and you know it back to front. So how do you go about actually telling that story in a compelling way for the submission in the first place?
I think for us it was about the frontline stories, because best will in the world, like you say, you've got a comms and learning and engagement team kind of sat at the middle of it, but we're just the conduit to have the business impact to make sure the frontline are getting exactly what they need. So actually it was in the retelling of those stories. So I suppose from us it kind of went right through from pilot, so keeping those pilot groups close, because the leadership want the impact from the platform, they want a platform for them to be able to address the teams on. But actually they'll go by what they're being told by the front line. So, you know, how is this going to make things better for you? What is it that you actually need? So we always work very closely with those frontline teams to just find out what exactly they did need from their content. But then that's where you got the little nuggets of things that we didn't necessarily see or recognise in the platform that they do, if that makes sense. They would be using things in the huddles. It might just be the gamification of the leaderboard, and they bring that to their morning huddle. And those are the bits that you can actually then bring to life. And it's really nice when you get to that stage. I think when we did you have the submission, and then you're right, you kind of get to the judges stage. And at that point, being able to retell that story, I think we said it was a best man's speech, because kind of, like when you're best man, you kind of got loads and loads of notes, and you think, I don't need all this, I lived it. And it's really nice to be able to look back. So I think for us as a team, kind of going through that stage, every month we would have to, and then quarterly, be doing business updates based on actually what have we seen, what are we doing next. And so we'd obviously use all of that data, we'd pull the stories from the front line, we'd retell our story of kind of being that conduit and the things that we were moving on to do. And I think that's where it became quite powerful with the judges. We actually kind of hit them with some numbers at the start, because as you said in a couple of questions before, in the learning industry, it was learning technologies, actually they really want to know what's the proof. You save that to the end and they're kind of like, you're just waffling. So actually just get to the point first. We kind of switched our presentation to make sure we kind of said, look, here's all the numbers around business impacts. They could then sit back and actually take the time to listen to our story, and telling those stories of, you know, all the different frontline teams and the value they were getting kind of brought real value to our presentation. And you got to really enjoy it, you know, and actually having pictures alongside those stories of how people use it was really good.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, as a judge, understanding, you know, how that story pieces together and seeing it from start to finish and understanding the impact is the most important thing that the judge is looking for ultimately at the end of the day. I'm just going to take a little pause there, and hopefully the lights can come up slightly, and ask whether anyone in the audience has got any questions, because we've covered that kind of the mindset piece of what's going on potentially in your organisation, the data points that you might be looking at, and then also starting to touch on storytelling there, which is obviously a key part of the submission. So if anyone's got any questions, yeah.
I can be quite short actually with this one. We haven't promoted it enough yet internally. We are just about to kick off in terms of promoting it. But I mean, the thing with the, you know, we're obviously part of the AA. We're what's called part of the developing businesses. And overall, you know, the driving school has huge success within the AA. And so this is just another opportunity to really highlight the work that the teams are doing and the amount of effort that they're sort of putting into making, you know, getting the right outcomes for our trainees. So it's yeah, we're just about to kick off. That's my answer.
I don't think we celebrate enough, but I think we had quite a lot of publicity on LinkedIn, etc., and which helped our recruitment, because we talk about learning a lot, and also learning is part of our DNA. So this kind of not confirms that we have a brilliant team, but it confirms that we invest as an organization in learning, and I think that has impact in itself.
Brilliant.
I think, well, it was nice for us as a team, looking at Emily over there again now, it's nice to team some of that validation of what a bloody great job you've done. I think as a team, it's great as a business, certainly to get industry recognition. I think that's again, something that Vodafone have been quite passionate about. It's like entering awards and winning awards and being seen to win awards. But again, because we'd only ever see ourselves as the conduit for getting things done to the front line, it's quite nice to kind of go, we won that, you know, for the 10 people that did that together, we all made that happen from, you know, discovery right through to winning the awards. And I think it's one of the things that makes you think, you know, can we do something more? Can we get that again, kind of thing?
So potential impact on the business from a recruitment perspective yet to be seen in the AA's case, and then obviously the validation from, you know, and from an internal L&D team perspective, an internal team perspective as well. Any other questions? Yeah.
We're fairly new to Thrive. We just launched in September.
I think for us there's a piece around tracking cohorts. So already in your business you'll know who your best performers are. So then trying to understand how some of that correlates against the behaviours that you see in the platforms. That makes sense. So kind of what are your top 20% doing? Because then you can kind of say, how do you replicate the habits of the highly effective people? And you kind of go, well, actually, these are the... And I think we found it with ours. You kind of look at it and there was the curious people, kind of the people who are doing really well if we kind of look at sales and then at care, the people that want more knowledge, share knowledge, and then look at how they evolve and develop themselves. And those characters kind of light up for us, or they certainly lit up for us when we started to dig into that data. So just make sure I'm sure the business can identify those characters, and then you kind of go, right, let's understand those buckets, kind of those people that are using the platform a lot. What are we seeing from them?
Maybe you could also use some testing groups. So for example, we're working on a project at the moment and we have a test group. We're trying different things with them, but we're seeing how what we're doing will impact the performance, whether people will have, you know, development plans which they haven't got at the moment and things like that. So maybe something simpler as well. And you know, again, I think look at things like if you're creating something tailored for different audiences as well, how are they doing, you know, are they more engaged as a group, are they performing better? I think that performance bit is really crucial here.
Good.
Yeah, I just say keep it small to start with. I would have said, and just see what you can monitor, see what sort of resonates with the, you know, the audience that you're reporting back to, and then you'll naturally just build it. It's there's so much data, but ultimately, yeah, keep it small, keep it simple to start with.
And if there's one more question, yeah, at the back there. As a bronze winner for best use of data analytics to inform business impact, you might be best placed to answer that.
So there's two parts to our award, actually. There's the business impact, but it was also the learner and the user impact. And ultimately as well, when I look at the learner and the user impact, our learners, our users are trainee driving instructors. And as I say, they then are out there delivering driver training to what actually ends up to be quite a large group of people that are represented, unfortunately, in road traffic collisions. So in terms of what we're, you know, the impact of what I wanted to look at was we have content in our qualification that's not needed for them to qualify, but it has that ongoing bit of this is absolutely information that you need to pass over to your young person that's in the car next to you. And so, you know, there was key bits there that I wanted to sort of make sure that we were looking at, and I can't report back on those at the moment, but that's what, you know, I'll find a way to sort of do. In terms of the other metrics, though, that I can report back on, it is about the number of people that pass that qualification and then come and join us as a franchisee on the AA brand, the BSM brand, or independently as a solo. And so that's, it's an easy one in terms of those business ones. It's a really easy one for us to really sort of have a look at. But yeah, the first bit is where I want to have a look more at in the future.
Good stuff. So we've covered the kind of the background, the mindset, that we've talked about data, we've talked about storytelling. I suppose it's now time to get into like the practicalities of maybe the partnership, what's involved, how you go about presenting for the award. So, Rob, I'll pass this one over to you to start with about the partnership with Thrive and why you felt like it was right to submit an award alongside us.
Again, I think there's a little bit of that validation of great work. So when we knew how well the platform was doing, I think, I'm trying to think of the timing. So we're probably, correct me on this, I'm thinking we launched in Jan, and I think the awards were probably like September time when we had to get things in to then get it completed. But we were kind of getting sort of 500,000 views of content a month, and you're kind of getting that, like to your point, you're getting tons and tons of data. So for us to kind of pull that all into to one place for the submission, we kind of realised it's another project, if that makes sense. So we spoke to the guys at Thrive, and was like, maybe to get the old band back together, and that's what you need. It's a project team to be able to pull on. And I think for us it was important because we wouldn't have launched Thrive unless we thought it would be successful. But it was that partnership. So there were things Thrive didn't do that we wanted it to do. The stuff that maybe Josh is going to wow us later with on stage, of all these extra stuff they've done. But that's always been the relationship for us, where there's things we think could be different. I know that you guys all contribute as well and help build the product and the platform. I think it's just that opportunity to keep working together to get that recognition, to then validate the great stuff that both of us are kind of doing, to almost cement that relationship as part of moving forwards as well.
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's really important to celebrate that team effort as well, like you say, which is important. Svetlana, Mark, do you have anything to add to what Rob said? I'm going to take that silence as no. Thinking time.
Always good things to say. That for us, that partnership was super important, because I think we learned from each other as well. And again, I can't say enough how important it was to move to Thrive for us, because we were changing so many things. We were moving from LMS, and again, people were saying our engagement level was so low. People would only go to our old platform to complete the compliance training. That's it. And they said, it's so boring. It's so not user-friendly. And I have to click about 5 times to book the course. I'm not going. So from that, we moved into... So at the moment we have, if I just talk about learner engagement on the platform, it's between 94 and 97% constantly. And I think for us to move from that, oh my goodness, this is horrible, I'm not touching it, to that engagement is just incredible. That's for me.
Yeah, brilliant. It's great to hear that, and a great engagement stats as well. Really impressive. I suppose, Mark, as the one who's gone through this process most recently, I suppose what stands out in your mind is, what are those key points that you need to go through? What was the experience like? What was it like sitting on the presentation, even just presenting to the judges?
Just talking about stuff and talking about myself and that sort of stuff, that was easy.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah. So for us, the process, we started with the goal in mind when we started the whole process with Thrive and our impact team, with Ellie and Carly and Tracy. And we knew what we wanted to achieve. We knew we wanted to go for that award entry. So that was sort of the icing on the cake, but the whole process really started from really thinking about, well, what is it that we want this project, the impact project, to achieve? How can we really, set what our goal is, and then have those milestones that come throughout, with the hope that obviously we get the right data at the end to come for the award submission. When it comes to the award submission, of course, again, it's a team effort, which absolutely we needed as well, in terms of really bringing everybody from my side of the business and also then the Thrive side of the business together and putting that entry together. And I think it is then looking at that entry, ensuring that it answers the questions that you're being asked. It's very easy to go off on a tangent and put stuff in there that's not as relevant. It's fine-tuning that message as you then go through and get ready for that submission. Then it's the annoying wait. Did we make the short list? And then all of a sudden, you make the short list and you're in front of the panel. And just to say, I wing things quite a lot. You know, I tend not to worry about preparing as much and things like that. But you know, we had, I think, a session a week before, didn't we? I think it was, where ultimately went through and did a bit of a trial run, and then that really helped me in terms of really nailing down our message. But then when it actually came to the presentation, again, it was about, we were already telling the story that we already know so well, so it just became really easy. And I suppose one of the things that I always sort of judge in terms of how well have we delivered something is how intelligent are the questions that come back. And I really enjoyed the questions and the challenges from the judges and things like that. So, I mean, I would say absolutely be prepared for some challenging questions, but it really did work well.
Brilliant. I think it's great to hear that kind of end-to-end process as well, and also that annoying wait that you say between submitting and shortlisting, which, Rob, you will now be familiar with, having just submitted for CCA Excellence Awards. What's made you decide to submit for those, and what story are you telling there? I think thinking about the future and or even just looking back.
So yeah, because Learning Tech was this time last year, wasn't it? And it was in that week that we all went down to London to kind of see if you've won. You kind of get the shortlist, don't you? And then you find out on the night whether you're placed at all to win something. It was on that same week that I started Vodafone Business. So I've got kind of John and Keely down here. So I'd already gone across because those guys had been looking at Thrive. So for me, there's kind of like, well, I think John actually said it. It's like the award-winning, implementation. We're going to win some awards with this one. So it's like, yes. So that kind of our thought process was, we've done something brilliantly kind of once, but it was really interesting, I think, for me, seeing the different challenges, because big Vodafone, obviously organisation, but the difference between consumer, which is about kind of simplification and doing things at scale, and that kind of really comes through in our submission. But then we just put one in now that Keely submitted, I think, last week or the week before. And although it's same business, same platform, completely different story, because obviously with business, it's all quite different. There's kind of it's slightly more complicated because it's unique for different customers with so many different parts of the operation. So again, our story is different, but hopefully as compelling in certainly the business impact. So yeah, we're just going through that stage again. So we're kind of waiting nervously to hear if we've made that shortlist in January.
And fingers crossed. I think it's really important for people to realise that obviously Thrive can support people to submit for awards that are relevant to you and your industry as well, because that's obviously specific to what you're doing in terms of customer excellence, outside of just specific learning technologies awards as well, which is great. We can definitely support from that
and at
perspective.
really short timescales. So I think it was when you'd emailed and said,
About
"Oh,
a
would
week,
you?"
I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, you kind of said, "Oh, will you come and do this at Thrive?" I was like, "Yeah, love to." I think I replied to that same email and said, "Cassie, Helen, we want to go for another award. Are you up for it?" Within minutes, Cassie's sort of messaging back going, "Yep, we're up for it. We support whoever we can." And then, yeah, literally within, I think it was like 10 days start to finish, because it was quite a late application window to get that done. So, but again, it's good fun doing that and putting together our story, your story, because again, you guys have been through that stuff before, and there's a lot of expertise to pull on, say from Cassie and the team.
Yeah, but if you can give us a bit more lead time, that would be good. Svetlana, I know that you've done a bit of reflection recently, thinking about the quality of the projects and the work that you've been doing as a team internally, and you've maybe thought, actually, maybe I could submit for an award for something. Do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. We, as a team, we're working on a project currently, which, before I think we talked, I never thought about submitting for an award, but actually, thinking back, there is a great story which we can tell about what we are doing right now. So the project we're working on is called Brilliant Basics, and aka School of Slots. It had many names and many skins, but basically it's about product knowledge. It's about understanding what we do as a business, because we have a very, very low, used to have very low knowledge within the business, within certain teams, about what we do, what our products are. And I know it may sound strange, because I always said, if you sell cheese, at least you know what sort of cheese do you sell, so you can explain to the customer what it tastes like. But it's all started if I think back, it's all started from frustrations within meetings, and that those frustrations became a business challenge, and then opportunity for us to do something about it. So our CEO, Robson, he's amazing supporter of learning, but he came to us and basically said, look, this is not working. We have so much feedback from people, for example, who in meeting rooms, and they can't make decisions quickly because they don't understand what we do. And I'm not talking, they don't know what industry we're in. It's understanding the language we're talking. It's understanding the compliance market and legal market we operate in, and understanding, whether it's bingo, slots, or is it sports book, etc., etc. Anyway, and he said, just solve it. Solve it. I don't care how you're going to solve it, you need to solve it. So the first iteration of this came out last year, and it was called School of Slots, and it was an incredibly successful project. And we went to a lens of researching, okay, what do we need to know to be able to make better decisions in a boardroom, in a meeting, and to communicate better together as people from different parts of the business. So we've got the data, and then we got to work, and we made that project so incredibly complicated. The production and filming, so we decided we're going to release a series of videos put together by some of our senior stakeholders. So our CEO was talking about Baccara, and somebody else was talking about different products. Anyway, it took a year to launch it, and it went viral in the business. Everyone wanted to be part of it. I had 32 champions who were championing this particular product in a business. And then we came to a point where we realized it's not future-proof. People who were in those videos, some of them left. So the challenge for us was to become innovative. Again, we sat down and looked at the data, how much time we spent producing that content, how much time we spent engaging people. And then we thought, right, we need to be innovative, we need to be creative. So we brought in AI. It's AI software to produce videos. We restructured everything completely in terms of the content. We relaunched very successfully. We rebranded very successfully. So basically, if we think about ROI or saving costs for the business, from me as a new starter, for example, watching 60 minutes of videos, now I watch 20 minutes. Because we were very creative in creating the content with AI, and basically not even halving, I think, completely, I don't know, is it 80% down in production time now? Again, people are engaged, and we're not shy with marketing as a team. We market through every channel possible several times. But yeah, and I think we need to put for an award because there is business alignment, there is creativity, there is design, there is analytics and data, and it's also on our strategic board KPI now. So we got there.
Brilliant. And all of those things essential for an award. So perfect way
Thank
to
you.
wrap up the main point of the panel. I'm going to ask again for the lights to come up, if that's okay, because I'm conscious we're probably heading towards the end of the session, and I'd like to give you all a chance to ask any questions that you've got. So if anyone's got any more questions for the panel, yeah.
So for you, what would you say, what were the main or key reasons why you feel you've had such great engagement with Thrive?
Yes, it's a great question. I think there are a few ingredients. We were talking about the impact and all of the benefits of the new platform to senior stakeholders, constantly in meetings, constantly presenting in our stakeholder meetings. Here is what's coming. We had a campaign, quite a structured campaign, which really helped us to deliver what we were trying to deliver and engage people. We had some events as well, event in London, event in Manchester, online events. And I think one of the main ingredients, I think, was we created a group of champions, we love champions in Bally's, who were calling themselves Beehive Champions. We used to meet with them every month, and one of the rewards for the champions was they were able to produce their own UGC. And we had a competition between them, and there was the people who would drive engagement within their teams. So I think combination of your really good strategic marketing plan and comms plan, events, champions, it will really, really help.
Well, I think it's been really interesting to hear obviously the stories from, I suppose, start to finish, thinking about what the state of your business is, what those data points are, how you tell those stories. I suppose to end on a piece of advice that you'd give anyone who was thinking about entering for an award, what would you say? What would your advice be? And I suppose how would they choose the category to submit for as well? And I can see you all pondering that one carefully, so I'm going to ask whoever wants to go first to go first.
Yeah, no, I can jump in. Okay, so choosing a category. I suppose it's useful to have a look at previous categories and previous years and sort of try and suss out what your competition might be and how many people make that final list. And so you can maximise your chances of winning, I guess, by having a smaller group. But you can't always really tell that. But that might be a way to sort of have a look at it. I think as well, I think it comes down to just being confident that the information that you're looking at, the information that you're starting with, you might not think it's worth an award entry, but I would say start the process because you will find more information. You'll dig that little bit deeper into what you've got. You'll bring in the expertise that is around you. You'll ignite that passion around you. So I think it's just, don't be afraid if you think, oh, are we there yet for an award? I think just try and go for it.
Great advice.
I think for us, it's probably just making sure there's enough credibility around. So don't just go for any old award. I think for us, it's quite nice. You generally go for a couple. I think more because there's a big business, it'd be good to enter a couple of categories. Doesn't mean they all get through, but it is good to kind of choose ones that might be sort of top of market in terms of the recognition you get from them. And then, to your point, certainly go for it. I think one of the things when you're doing these projects is, I suppose, not to limit yourself just the stuff you set out to achieve. Quite often, when you're doing the discover and as your platform's rolled out and evolving, you kind of discover those extra stories, the things that you maybe didn't think to measure that you can throw in, and that's the stuff that can really sort of galvanise and bring any submission to life.
Brilliant. Svetlana?
Quite similar. I think kind of be intentional about an award you're going for. And also I think it's about be prepared to have a story, isn't it? Because data is not just numbers, it's a story. Be prepared to tell that story. And I think that probably one of the ingredients, really.
Yeah. To reflect on the submissions that you all made as well, I think one thing that was really clear in them is the focus on the individual, the people impact, and the individual stories from the business that you can tell as well, because I think that's when it really comes to light that you've had an impact on people, and that's really what judges are really interested in seeing. Like, yes, it's great, that business impact is great, but also what's going on with the people that have the kind of the day-to-day elements as well. So that's just a personal reflection on the submissions as well. So if there are no more questions, I'd just like to give a massive round of applause to Mark, Svetlana and Rob for joining us on stage.